been a long time since the biggest story for Tennessee was the Lady Vols. But that's where we're at now with Tennessee, because Tennessee just got, bar none, their biggest win as a program since their last national championship game, which they won in 2008. Now, I want to say up front, they have beaten higher ranked teams before then. UConn was number 5 on Thursday night, and Tennessee beat UConn, for those who don't know, for those who are winning, 80-76. They've beaten a couple of top 3 teams, most notably right after their national title. They beat Stanford in overtime in early 2008, but that team was not good, was not that great. It's definitely, and you guys can check me on this, but I do believe this is their highest ranked win since Pat Summitt retired. I could be wrong on that. Check with me on Holly Warlick, top 10, top 5 wins. But I do believe that this is their highest ranked win since Pat Summitt retired. Tennessee beats UConn 80-76. This is the most signature win for Kim Caldwell. There is no doubt about it. And the way Tennessee was able to win this game speaks very highly of how they're developing as a team. Okay, because in case you forgot, this Tennessee team, we had Steve Hamer on Tuesday, and he's dead right, by the way. Their issue the whole time has been if they're not hitting from 3, they're not winning. Because in case you forget, Tennessee, and this is a big deal now, Tennessee, Kim Caldwell recruited for size, athleticism, and hopes that with enough open looks, they can make enough threes. Now, that has happened at times throughout the year, but these aren't 3-point shooters. That's what she's got coming in next year. So you're going to have off-game shooting the 3. When you do, can you manufacture other ways to score? And against teams like South Carolina that are much bigger, that are much more skilled in the half-court game, you just can't, which is why they win. And actually against most teams, it's that way. So against UConn, Tennessee doesn't shoot well from 3. They shoot 7-28. Most notably, the other part of their game, forcing turnovers, they only forced 12 turnovers. UConn actually forced 19. What happened? Tennessee dominated on the boards. They dominated on the boards as they had 46 rebounds to UConn's 34, 17 offensive rebounds to UConn's 13, and they had a better half-court game. They outplayed UConn in the half-court game. They outplayed UConn from the paint. Z Spearman was 6 of 9 from the field. She only hit 1 3, but she had 16 points and 7 rebounds, leading the team in scoring. Samara Spencer, 6 of 12, 2 of 5 from 3, but 14 points. She hit 4 of 7 from inside the paint. Delisha Cooper missed all 4 3-pointers she took. Still hit 4 field goals inside the paint. And Jules Spear, who scored 12 points and is supposed to be a 3-point specialist to a certain degree, was only 1 of 6 from 3, but she was 4 of 4 inside the paint. This is what Kim Caldwell's been working on all year, guys. She has tried to get her team to be more effective scoring in the paint when the threes aren't falling, and they finally were able to do it. That's how they beat UConn. So this is not just a stepping stone in terms of beating UConn, which we're going to talk about in a second. This is a stepping stone in the sense of the way Tennessee won. They haven't beaten elite teams like this. Now, I didn't say anything, but I thought going into the matchup, this actually was a top 5 matchup, a top 5 team or a top 10 team that actually favored Tennessee more than the other ones they faced, the LSUs and the South Carolinas, because UConn is more guard oriented. They're not built around size as much. I mean, Gino Auriemma he's always built his teams guard oriented. He really revolutionized backcourt play at UConn, in women's basketball, that is. And that's how UConn got so dominant for so long and then had a monopoly on recruiting. At the same time, I also will just say this, Gino, and we're seeing this as parity's crept into college basketball, women's basketball over the past 9 years. Gino ain't that great of a coach. And it's getting exposed more and more year to year. Gino had a monopoly on recruiting that was unprecedented. But if you look at UConn and what has been going on with Gino, they are not – they made a lot of mistakes down the stretch. Tennessee wore UConn down, but Kim Caldwell coached circles around Gino Auriemma at the end of that game. His rotations were very, very confusing, honestly. I did not think he ran his rotations well at all. And his rotations were very confusing. And he was not great at the half-court game. He just wasn't. And Kim Caldwell, it doesn't even focus on running a half-court offense, but she coached circles around him in the half-court scoring offense the other night. I never saw that before. I never thought Gino could do that. So we're going to play hot or cold real quick. And first I want to share a super chat. Sandras Rux, thanks you, says, this was a huge win for us, and I'm proud of my team. Sandras, thanks you for the super chat. It was a huge win. We're going to talk about the importance of the win for in a second. But let me just ask this poll question first. Is Tennessee's win over UConn the Vols' Lady Vols' biggest win since their 2008 national title, or since their last national title? Yes and no. Let's see what you guys think. Give me 30 seconds. We're going to play hot or cold, brought to you by City Heating and Air Conditioning.
Hi, Mike Davis here with City Heating and Air, reminding you to always dare to compare. Our team provides quality local heating and air service, installation, and maintenance across East Tennessee. We use only the best equipment like American Standard Heating and Air Conditioning for your residential, new construction, or commercial needs. Honesty, dependability, and customer satisfaction have been the cornerstones of our business since 1961. City Heat and Air.
There's your man. All right, so let's play a little hot or cold, and we're going to start with the Lady Vols half-court offense. Hot or cold? I'm hot on them. I've been low on them all year. The half-court offense is where it needs to be for them to make a run in the NCAA tournament. Now, if they can do this week in and game out, and if they get the favorable matchups, which is guard-oriented teams, not the South Carolinas, they can win a few NCAA tournament games. They are not a national title team, guys. I'm just going to tell you straight up, they're not. But they can win a few NCAA tournament games and make a splash with this half-court offense. Their half-court defense, I'm cold on that, honestly. I think, and this is going to be a bit of a drop-off, but I think that Tennessee's half-court defense benefited from Gino Auriemma's horrid coaching down the stretch of this game, honestly. So I'm actually cold on their half-court defense because I thought Gino Auriemma coached a very, very poor game. Didn't know exactly how to work the inside and work the paint. And again, his rotations were really, really confusing. So I still think Tennessee's half-court defense is an issue long-term. They just benefited from a guard-oriented team not knowing how to work the offense long-term, which is why even though they only had 12 turnovers, this guard-oriented team not being able to work the half-court game cost them dearly, and that's a major, major indictment of Gino Auriemma's coaching. Speaking of that, Kim Caldwell's coaching ability. I am much hotter on it now than I was a day ago. I am extremely hot. I am scorching hot on it. And let me explain why. I had a little bit of a concern for the Lady Vols that Kim Caldwell was a system coach. And what I mean by that is she had this system of I run 10 players, I play controlled chaos, and we just do the same thing up and down every time. I knew that those things are always good enough to get you to a certain level, but then you have to be able to adjust once you have the talent and once you're in certain situations that don't allow you to do that. That's how you win championships. And Tennessee's goal is to win championships. She showed last night she can adjust because she, again, outcoached one of the greatest coaches in the game in the half-court sets. Kim Caldwell did a significantly better job than Gino Auriemma down the stretch coaching out of the half-court, which I did not see coming ever, okay? So with that in mind, I'm way hotter. She is not just a system coach. And so I got to give her so much credit for that. Mucho Boomin says it will help with recruiting, and now the team sees that her way of basketball can win at that level. Yes. Derek says to fall in love with overachieving teams. It's hard not to. Yep. Mucho Boomin says they have to attack the basket, catch and shoot threes, rebounding, and play hard on defense. It gets frustrating watching give up easy baskets. I agree with you, Mucho Boomin, but you got to remember how this team is designed. And that's where I got concerned about the whole Kim Caldwell being a system coach. They didn't do that as much yesterday. They adjusted a lot, but I am cold on their half-court defense and their ability to stop easy baskets from being given up because, again, They played a guard-oriented team that didn't shoot the ball well, but they also that did not do what they should have done in the final 5 minutes of that game to score. Matt says Caldwell with better talent equals natties. Yes. Now here's the way Caldwell is going to build this team. The way it's built right now is if they are, yeah, David speaks. I know I should have been corrected when I said greatest coach, not named Pat Summitt. You're right. He's not the greatest coach. One of the greatest coaches, a legend in his own right. Okay. So with Kim Caldwell, with this team, how it's going to be built next year, she's got the number 1 recruiting class coming in. All 5 stars, very guard oriented. They're going to be elite shooters. And they're tall enough to be able to play defense at this level. The issue with this team this year is she didn't recruit shooters in the offseason. She recruited athletes who are good enough to shoot when they're open. So it's streaky. They'll be on a game and they'll be off a game. And if they're off, they can be in trouble and lose. You get enough elite shooters, though, you're not going to be off. See, this is the thing this is this day and age of college basketball. Look at how Golden State was built. Golden State just did the theory of if we do enough spacing and we get Steph Curry, Kevin Durant, Draymond Green hitting threes, and Klay Thompson and a bunch of other guys off the bench, two of us are bound to be on every game. And that's exactly how Caldwell is building this team. So get excited, guys, because this Lady Vols team, we're just scratching the surface of what we're going to see with them going forward. This was a legendary, heck of a stepping stone win. I mean, when you talk about stepping stone wins, this is one of the biggest stepping stone, like signature first wins for coaches in a long time. Let's go back and look at those. Okay. Like, let's think signature wins for coaches. Okay. Josh Heupel at Alabama, beating Alabama in 2022. That was a signature win his second year. That's when you were like, Josh Heupel is here. He has arrived. Remember Butch Jones in 2013? An underrated signature win. Whatever you think about Butch Jones, he led Tennessee to an upset of South Carolina in 2013 with the best team that Steve Spurrier ever had at South Carolina. That team would have, I don't know if you guys know this, if Butch Jones doesn't upset South Carolina that year, South Carolina goes to the SEC title. They may beat Auburn and they may play for the national title. They were number 5 that year. So that was a crazy upset that Butch Jones led. That was a signature win. Jeremy Pruitt was at Auburn his first year. Derek Dooley had no signature wins, just so you know. Lane Kiffin's was South Carolina at home, but not anything special. Philip Fulmer's was his just first 2 games, his second and third game as a head coach when he beat Georgia at Georgia and then Florida at home as an interim coach. Josh Heupel's, before the Alabama game, there was the Kentucky win the previous year that got people excited. Give him credit for that. Bruce Pearl in basketball, his signature win was ironically at Rick Barnes in Texas, his first year at Tennessee when Tennessee just beat Texas by 20 on the road and Texas was a top 10 team. So signature wins happen, but this is one of the biggest signature wins of a coach, particularly first-year head coach, in the history of Tennessee sports. Tennessee beat UConn for the first time since 2007. It's their biggest win since the national title in 2008, and it's really not even close. And going to the poll question real quick, everybody agrees with me. Bad poll. 17 votes, 100% say yes. It's Tennessee's win over UConn is the Lady Vols' biggest win since their last national title. And by the way, Gino Auriemma calling fans stupid yesterday after he was part of fueling this rivalry and being a hypocrite was so ridiculous. It was very clear last night how electric that game was, how electric the rivalry is. And in this age of women's college basketball, with the excitement getting bigger, it was high time Tennessee was able to be a part of that again, because this is one of the most legendary programs, and they are. So let's just say what it is. It was so exciting to see that moment for the Lady Vols. And man, this recruiting class, you were right, can be scary. I've already got the Lady Vols winning the national title in 2027. Not next year with all the freshmen, but 2027. I got them winning the national title in 2027 if they can keep everybody. So just watch out for that. This is obviously an incredibly gifted team that she has right now, and her recruiting class next year. You guys are right. It's going to be scary. And we don't know what she's going to do in the transfer portal either. So she could end up loading up on more talent than we even realize, guys. Let's just point that out. Okay. So this is going to be kind of wild, the way this all ends up, but kudos to the Lady Vols. Kudos to Kim Caldwell. Huge win for this program. If you guys haven't watched them play, watch them play. They are the most fun team to watch in, I think, the history of the program, because for no fault of their own, but just a different time. Pat Summitt's programs were typically built on defense and rebounding, with the exception of that 96-97 team that was the underdog team, the 3 seed to go win the national title and actually upset an undefeated UConn in the NCAA tournament. So again, kudos to the Lady Vols. This was a huge win for them.